discriminate in who we invite. Every single candidate that you see on that agenda tonight, they were extended an invitation to be here tonight. They had their opportunity to talk before you, and they did not accept it. So remember that when you go to the poll. All right? That they did not come. All right. So we're going to get started with these candidates that are here. First for governor, and we're going to roll through these. We ask that each answer that you would give when it comes to the question time would be about 2 minutes in your answer. First of all, thank you both for being here tonight. We greatly appreciate it. If you would just, give them a hand. Just for showing up, we thank you. Take about 2 to 3 minutes to, we're going to say 3 minutes to introduce yourself. Tell us in short summation what you're running on and what is important to you. So we'll start directly to my left, please. Directly.
Good evening. Patrick Loudwire, Landry candidate for governor, obviously. I am a Navy veteran. I have 11 years of honorable service in the United States Navy in combat engineers. I do currently hold a full-time 40-hour-a-week job right now at a downtown hotel. I'd rather not say specifically which one, but I'm a building engineer there and also do handle some security issues on occasion because we don't have full-time security there. And it is our objective to protect the grounds of the building as well as be very hospitable to our paying customers. I am running for office here as governor for the second time in my life. In 2003, I ran as an independent for governor. This time, I am running as a Republican. My perspective is I'm actually an independent Republican because the state Republican Party didn't even endorse me. They only endorsed the other 2 Republican candidates for the office, which is fine. I'm not going to take big problem with that. It is what it is. But in reality, it's probably a blessing in disguise because, again, when I ran as an independent, I've been an independent voter for most of my voting life. But I also accept the fact that our state is currently a Republican state, and since I'm a serious candidate, operating on a shoestring budget, the only way for me to win is to run as a Republican. So that's what I'm doing. But nonetheless, I am somebody who grew up in Orleans Parish. I still reside in Orleans Parish, and I have quite a bit of friends in the African American community in the whole metro area. And it will be a blessing to me. I read my Bible on a regular basis. In fact, I basically read my Bible every day and have been for several decades. I'm not perfect by any means, but however, I do know who the perfect Creator is, and He saved me from my sins, and He enables me to share the gospel, which is very important to me. And at the same time, I want to bring benefit to the state by having biblical principles run my life and hopefully the guide to others. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And let me just clarify, what would you prefer to be addressed as?
Mr. Lane, you will be fine.
Okay, thank you. All right. I didn't know if it was Mr. Livewire or...
Well, you can call me Livewire.
All right, very good. Next, please.
Thank you all for inviting me here, and thank you all for participating. I've been to a couple of the forums. Everybody seems to be very interested in how their government functions and what their government can do for them, and what can their political elected officials do for them, and how few of their political elected officials actually keep their word. I don't know what's I got into this race because I felt like I have some unique talent and ability relative to my experience in my life, having to overcome obstacles, having to accomplish things that most people haven't been able to accomplish. And I give that credit to God, number one. Number two, my self-determination. I put on my campaign literature that I'm go-Gary. And the reason I use that expression is because I'm a non-stop get the job done, solve the problems. And we have a lot of problems in our society. But we can fix them all because they're all created by us, so any problem that we have can be solved by us. The biggest problem that I see is we're poor. New Orleans is poor. I had a commercial that I didn't get to run, but it was your mom is poor, your dad is poor, your neighborhood poor, your city poor, your state's poor. Why are we so poor? You know, we even have the term poor boy. The reason we're poor is because our leaders have failed us. We have $150 billion worth of chemical plants that don't pay any taxes. We have about 73 former public officials that are either in jail or have served jail time. And I'm not saying it was a good one or a bad one. I'm just saying that there's a lot of leadership problems in our state and our local officials, and they have sold the people down the road. And we can solve that problem by electing the right people. And I think I have the qualities to do the job for you. Coming from the place I come from in Gentilly, I grew up with 9 brothers and sisters. I was taught that the word is your bond, that God is all powerful. You can do what you want in this world. Doesn't matter what color you are, what creed you are, or where you come from. It's up to you what happens in your life. And it's not so much what happens to you, it's what you do about it. Now, I've been ignored in this campaign, and I don't appreciate the news media doing that, and I wish they would. But, you know, unfortunately, they have a system in place to keep people down. Y'all might be familiar with that. Well, it works in a lot of things. So we're going to try and solve that problem in the next 3 weeks we have before the election. And we're going to get some name, we're going to get a little more name recognition, and hopefully some more votes. And I think they're going to be surprised what we do on election day. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir. What we're going to do here as our format is that Moderator McKenzie and I are going to ask some questions, but also, audience, you have a chance for some questions as well, too. There is a bucket on the left side of the stage and another one on the right side of the stage with some index that are somewhere in the proximity of those buckets. If you have a question and you want it asked tonight, please write it down on one of those index cards, drop it in the buckets, or simply hand it to the moderator's table. If your name is printed legibly at the top of that index card, then we will call on you to ask that question. If you don't want to ask that question for yourself, then don't write your name on it. Don't worry about it. We will ask it. So it's not required that you ask the question. Just fill out an index card and write your name on it if you want to ask your question yourself. Write legibly, not only your name, but all of the whole question. Also, too, real quick, I mentioned the fact that we want candidates to come back. I want to give special recognition to Miss Chelsea Napoleon, who is in the house tonight. She not only came before, please give her a hand. She's come to a forum before and was put on the hot seat and was asked questions and is back in the house. She's one that's kept her commitment. We appreciate that. We're going to begin with some questions then that we have for you. I want to just ask this, just so that you know, both candidates, Justice and Beyond is very much engaged in the fight against climate change and doing what we can to mitigate the effects of climate change within our community and truly globally. I've been working very, very strongly in that fight, tirelessly in that fight. We had one march in June. We'll have another march coming up October 15th to fight against climate change. Here's my question for you. If we may quantify your interest or your advocacy towards undoing climate change, the effects thereof, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you were elected governor, how important would fighting against climate change be for you, Mr. Landry?
Number 7.
All right. Mr. Landry, Livewire.
Well, it depends on how you want to fight it, but I believe that we have an opportunity for energy efficiency as the greatest opportunity to fight climate change, so that would be a 10 on the scale of energy efficiency.
Very good. So we got a 7 and 10. Okay. So here's my question. Knowing that we are very engaged in the fight against climate change, and we see that there are many things that are affecting it, such as the petrochemical industries and many policies set by the state government and federal government as well too. What would you do once you are in office to help combat and address climate change issues? Start to my left. Mr. Lambert.
First and foremost, biblical principles. I'd be consulting the Lord and imploring the Lord to aid us in the problems that are affecting the earth and our climate, because in reality there's always been change in all of human history. There's always been change in the climate. The earth may be heating up a little bit more than what may have taken place in the past, but the reality is the Lord of creation is much bigger than this earth and much bigger than the universe, and therefore he needs to be implored to take action himself, because we're not going to stop the football fields that are falling apart or floating away from the state of Louisiana.
Let me just follow up with that real quick, because that was a very good answer for a pastor. But I think we're interested in the governor being able to make some executive orders or move in such a way that we can address this issue head on. So one of the things that we know in this organization is that scientists have given us, and environmentalists have told us that we have about 12 years to get this thing under control, or that's beyond the point of no return. 12 years. And so in understanding that, is there anything that you would say that you as governor would say that we need to do right now by executive order to combat this?
Not by necessarily executive order, but certainly we would start to bringing limestone from the northern states of the United States and dropping this limestone along the coastlands of Louisiana to help mitigate and reduce the amount of climate change. But I am a wholehearted believer in the fact that the Lord of creation, if requested, can correct the problem. And the 12-year window that you've given me, I think, is basically the mindset of atheist scientists out there. Therefore, it's erroneous information.
Thank you. Next.
I don't believe that climate change is man-made, and that what's happening in the United States is the biggest problem. The biggest problem seems to be overseas with China and India, that's producing about 90% of the greenhouse gases are coming from the third world countries, not the United States. Over the last 50 years, we've reduced our emissions by about 80%, 85%, and we're very much in the lead in terms of trying to become a nation that uses less energy, more efficiently, and pollute less. If you look at a picture of our skylines 25 years ago, 30 years ago, they don't look like they do today. Now, in Louisiana, we have a unique situation. We have the greatest concentration of petrochemical plants in the world. That's a whole other issue. They do a lot of polluting. They're not really regulated the way they need to be. They're not monitored the way they need to be. And we can do a much better job. On my first day in office as governor, we're going to crack down on the chemical plants that are polluting our citizens in Donaldsonville and St. John parishes, and we're going to step up the enforcement, and we're going to give people up their power to monitor those plants and write tickets to them. And we're going to use the money that we get from the plants to write tickets to put in more monitoring equipment, and they're not going to get away with this anymore. Then we're going to suspend their tax exempt statuses, and we're going to use that money to pay for our schools, because you can't give $150 billion worth of property taxes away every year if you're going to have an educational system for your children. So if you want to know what I'm going to do on the first day of government, that's two things I'm going to do.
Since you addressed the question, I think was going to be our next question of the tax exemption. Thank you for addressing that. Livewire, would you answer that question? Would you end the tax exemption?
End the tax exemption. A homestead exemption should exist as is. Industrial tax exemption could be, I would say, I don't have enough information at this time, so I would say it would be looked at, and whatever we can do to remove and reduce taxes and burden on the common people of Louisiana, then that's what I would be striving to do.
Okay, the next question states, what is your position on the pollution of the area formerly known as Cancer Alley and now appropriately renamed Dead Alley?
I think I jumped ahead a little bit in my last answer, but I'm telling you, I have some. I spent a lot of time running for Congress in the 2nd Congressional District with Mr. Cutler, my friend who's here tonight, and I went up to those and I see those plants. They're spewing chemicals in the air. They're spewing smell, odors. There's a lot of good side to it. I got a lot of people working cancer, that's a whole different situation. You can't kill the people who live around the area of the plant just because somebody's got a job over there. So, like I said, on my first day as being governor, I will address that problem with an executive order. We're gonna force the Department of Environmental Quality to step up their monitoring the plants. They got to get better equipment. We're going to make the plants pay for it. Then we're going to use the money that we're going to suspend from the industrial tax exemption to pay for our schools like it should be. So, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this very easily because there are going to be a lot of people against me. Because it took them 40, 50 years to get these exemptions in place. So I can't do this by myself. But and I think that might be why they're fighting so hard to keep me from having a voice in this campaign. So just to let you know.
The chemical plants that exist throughout the state, in reality, are benefiting our economy. That does not say that we are not to be mindful of the sciences that are destroying people, and therefore, as the lead administrator of the state, I would be certainly focused on having the right people in all of the department heads who are qualified in their expertise in sciences and yet are not atheists. That's a problem in this country, is atheism. It's destroying the fabric and the focus that there is a creator and he lives and reigns supreme, and I will be focused on my biblical principles and how we can share that and implore the Lord to make the alterations that need to be done on the grander scale when we can only do things on a minimal scale.
All right. Let me just ask this. Do either of you or both of you believe in the research that has shown us that there's a greater concentration of those who are dealing with cancer in that area of St. James and St. John's Parish because of those petrochemical industries than anywhere else in the nation? Do you both
I agree with that. It's called Cancer Alley for a reason. So yes, there's a big problem up there, and it needs to get to the top issue in terms of the state government. They've neglected it for so long because they get a lot of money, they get the tax exemptions. You go get your boy, and he goes over to the legislature and gets you a nice tax exemption, and the law firm gets paid for the last 25 years, and the people don't get any money. And that's going to end.
All right. Mr. Lavalley, do you agree with that?
I certainly agree that it is a cancer alley, and we do have those sorts of issues around chemical plants, but the reality is also that we have to have oil production, for example. Otherwise, people should not be getting in their cars to leave here this evening or whatever means they plan to take on their daily business. Yes, we need to have medical concerns that are benefiting the residents of the state.
Okay, next question. Will you establish policy to close the plants that are known to be exceeding government allowable limits for pollution?
That's on the table. It's an option. But the first thing you have to do is start monitoring the plants correctly. It wasn't until about 5 years ago that the Environmental Protection Agency for Louisiana actually had equipment to monitor the plants. And they started getting equipment because they started finding the plants. So then they got $3-4 million worth of equipment. But there's a lot of plants. We've got a lot of plants here. I don't know if y'all been riding around. We've got a lot of plants. They're everywhere. But you got a lot of people work there. You got 250,000 people that are employed at the chemical plants in the oil industry in Louisiana. That's a lot of people. Now you got 125,000 people employed in the tourist industry in New Orleans, in the New Orleans area. I got a plan to bring 250,000 jobs. Las Vegas to the south. Why do we only have one casino downtown? So we solve the problem by two ways. We bring in another industry, and we take the pressure off of having to rely on one industry by bringing in another industry. And we bring in a lot of jobs and a lot of revenue, and then when you have money, you can deal with a lot of other problems. You can't solve problems when you're poor. You can solve problems when you're rich. Okay? We can get rich by making Louisiana, Las Vegas to the south, particularly New Orleans. Now, guess why you're not in Las Vegas to the south? Because they don't want you to be. They don't want you to have all this money down here in New Orleans. We haven't had a governor from New Orleans in 150 years. So think about that.
I will say I'm not a supporter of expanding gambling in this city and in this state. We have plenty money in that bud already. And as far as potentially new beneficial financial promoting business would be, because the state has already accepted medicinal marijuana, we need to now make it legal, decriminalize it, because there are so many people that are doing it anyway. I do not support the legalization of any other chemicals. Marijuana would be the one exception, and it could be a growth industry.
Mr. Lavalley, can I stop you for a minute? I'm going to have this moderator the kids repeat the question.
The question asks, will you establish policy to close the plants that are known to be exceeding government allowable limits for pollution?
Okay, and with that, I will not be focused on trying to close plants as quickly as possible. Again, we need to have rational, science-based operation that is reducing emissions while at the same time benefiting the fact that we need to have business that is functional and making money for the state.
One last question before we get to the audience's questions. Will you wholeheartedly support CATA initiatives?
Explain to me what that is.
Coalition Against Death Alley.
To clarify, Coalition Against Death Alley was formulated by the coalescing of different organizations, Justice and Beyond, 350, Rise St. James, Concerned Citizens of St. John, in order to combat climate change and the hazardous effects of what's going on along the river parishes. That is, the poisoning and the gassing of those people who are ancestors of slaves who originally built houses there. Chemical industries, as you know, came and set up shop and have been poisoning the people for decades that are there. We see a high concentration of respiratory disorders, autoimmune disease, and cancer. That's why it's not just Cancer Alley, it's Death Alley. And we have taken up the mandate to do something about it as Justice Beyond Coalition Against Death Alley. We need for you all to stand with us, and we want your support.
I made a commitment the other night at the forum in St. James at the Vacherie courthouse or townhouse, and I told those people there that if they made me their governor, that I would not forget them, and that they would have my commitment to support whatever we needed to do to make those plants stop polluting and killing them.
No, I would not support the CATA operation at the CATA. We need to have faith-based medical sciences and production of various beneficial products that are benefiting the state financially at the same time, that have rational and science-based, less emissions to those plants. No, I would not support the CATA.
Just to clarify, what are those beneficial products?
Oil.
Plastic?
Plastics, certainly, I don't...
Use the microphone.
I'm sorry. Okay, so beneficial products, oil, obviously, and there are so many byproducts from the oil, plastics being some of them. I certainly don't want to poison people, myself or anyone else, but we need to have business that is making money and employing people in those areas.
Let me just say, so both of you know as well too, then we're going to take questions from the audience. That area is also known as a sacrificial zone. And the reason why it's called a sacrificial zone is what you just said, that word but, that those industries, we need them, and we have to have them, even though, or but they cause death, or they're causing people to have cancer, but we need these. And so what we're doing is saying, yeah, we really don't need them. We do want people to have jobs, and there's also clean, renewable energy jobs that we can invest in, and not another plastic company that's poisoning the people of St. John and St. James Parish and all the other river parishes that are along there. So we don't want it to be a sacrificial zone. Bottom line.
Thank you, Pastor. Jim and I, first question.
Technically, it's a two-part question because when y'all talk about the plants, what the point that y'all did not bring up is how the land was taken taken away from the state where they was taking care of certain burial grounds that was for minorities. They just sucked that up and actually gave that land to the plant. So they're not being well kept already. The second part of that is when you were talking about the plant, it's $3 billion that we're not getting every year. So I even understand if we knock that down to 2.5, if we take that to 2.5 to us and leave that at $500 million, what programs are you going to put in place, and are you going to make those companies reimburse those families for their health care?
Not a problem. Okay, $3 billion a year is what the plants aren't paying in property taxes, and I believe half of that money goes to the school system. Or all of the money goes to the school system, one of the two. What's supposed to? Property taxes go to school systems. My mother was the president of the Orleans Parish School Board. Property taxes go to schools. So if we're not getting $3 billion, then you're not getting $3 billion for the kids. The most important thing we do in our state is educate people. Educate everybody, whether it's the children or the adults. We should have free community college for everybody. You want to go to college, it's free. We can do all of that. But the problem we have is you got 5 million people live in Louisiana, you got 3 million people live in Mississippi, and you got 2.5 million people, 3 million live in Alabama. So just between our 3 states, there's only 10 million people. In Houston, Texas, you got 6 million people in one spot. So it's kind of hard for them to hear us because we're so little and we're so insignificant. So they build all the plants and they don't really care about us that much. And if there's nobody in Baton Rouge to speak for you and to speak for me, it's not going to happen. But if you put me in Baton Rouge and I'm sitting in the governor's mansion and I got the St. James brochure on my desk, which I read thoroughly the other night, and I made my commitment to them and I'm going to keep my word, those people are going to get representation. And they're going to get what they deserve. We should be building clinics up there for them so they can go to the clinic when they have respiratory problems. But the first thing we need to do is stop the pollution. I agree with that part.
Thank you. Livewire.
First and foremost, I would not create additional bureaucracies because you asked if what we do as far as creating, we already have the Department of Environmental Quality. Excuse me. Now, perhaps
Do you need me to repeat exactly what I stated?
Did you
That was not what I stated, sir. Basically, what I was stating for the $3 billion that we're already given in tax credit, I understand to keep a lot of these companies here, it's going to be a little give and take, okay? So instead of giving them the whole $3 billion, knock it down to 2.5 that comes to the community, come back to us, so we can reinforce and invest in ourselves. So that will leave them with $500 million. That was my question.
Thank you. Okay. Well, and I apologize. But again, I would not create any more bureaucracy. We already have the Department of Environmental Quality, and we simply need to have guidance there and a governor who is going to check them. And but it needs to be faith-based. There's the Lord of the universe who created this universe, and with guidance from Him, He can give us the proper direction to go that benefits everybody, that limits emissions, and the billions that you're talking of, whether it's 1 billion, 3 billion, 10 billion, we need to have working people of the state who are also healthy, and I do not support chemical plants taking any burial grounds that you mentioned as well, okay? If that happened in the past, I feel bad for the legacy and the descendants of those individuals, but in reality, I would not in any way endorse that new chemical plants are not being placed on a burial ground or anything of the kind. We need to have God-based, believing, and non-atheistic ideals in our government, and it will benefit us. And that's my
I
answer.
want to make sure again that I completely understand. You said that you would not endorse that petrochemical industries would not build on burial grounds that have already been established there. That you would not say, we will not allow you to do that.
No future. Now, what no future type of benefit like that, or there would be no chemical plant built in the future on any type of burial ground. However, the situations that have happened in the past, then there could be certainly some payout to the descendants and people who have been affected by that.
All right, thank you. Also, just to remind everybody, please hand your questions on the index cards. Also, secondly, too, I forgot what I was going to say, actually. Go ahead.
Deacon Joey.
Hi, guys. I'd like a simple yes or no to this question. Do you believe in climate change?
Yeah.
No.
Then the second question would be directed to you, sir. So if so, how will you work to solve this crisis which affects our citizens of Louisiana, especially the poor?
It's interesting because I'm sitting here and I'm freezing. The air conditioner's running. Think about that for a minute. You're burning a lot of electricity to run this air conditioner. You're burning a plant down here to run this air conditioner. We're all these big lights up here. We don't need 12 lights up there. So we burn a lot of electricity. We waste a lot of, there's a lot of waste in what we do. And I know people that personally, they have $500 a month utility bills. And they only get $700 a month incomes. And they can barely pay their bills. And so they try to go to summer and, they're always fighting against the air conditioning. What we need to focus on, and I think this is the best way to approach that problem, is energy efficiency. And energy efficiency can come in a lot of different packages. It can come with insulation, insulated windows, or high efficiency appliances, or it can come with educating everybody on how to become more efficient. I think we can reduce our utility costs and our utility use by 70-80%. I think it could be that high. And I think if we do that, that's going to have a huge impact on the environment relative to the amount of oil that we're burning and the gas. Plus, we also have a lot of natural gas in Louisiana that's not being used to produce energy. And New Orleans doesn't even have an energy plant right now. So, to answer your question, there's a different approach to climate change in terms of walking outside and thinking that you're going to stop the pollution from going in the air, but we can also do it by making people energy efficient and making their homes efficient. And the government can do that from the first day in office.
Well, I did answer the question as the gentleman asked. I said no.
The next question is, what are your thoughts on gerrymandering?
I'm very familiar with gerrymandering because I ran for the 2nd Congressional District, and that district runs from the top of the Wrigley's Bridge in New Orleans East, which is at the end of Orleans Parish, and it runs 93 miles all the way to West Baton Rouge. And it's the 2nd Congressional District in Louisiana, and it is currently occupied by Cedric Richmond, Congressman Cedric Richmond. The district was carved out specifically for a minority person to serve in Congress, and that's what gerrymandering is. Now, it works both ways. You can carve out a district for a white Republican, you can carve out a district for a black Democrat. So when you say gerrymandering, it depends on who's it going to benefit. I don't think there should be any gerrymandering, because when you take people and you put them in a group, and then you give them a representative to represent that group, then that group loses its voice. Because it'd be a much more powerful voice if Cedric had more friends than the one that he has. He's kind of isolated the way he's operating, but that's another day. So I think gerrymandering is not a good thing, and I don't think it should be used the way it should be.
I do not believe in gerrymandering, particularly today. We need to be free, and just as everyone here is able to question me and what I've said, and you have the freedom, I'm sorry, to go vote as you wish. It may have been beneficial in the past because of historical problems in this state and in this nation, but it is time to come to the realization that gerrymandering and any type of government bureaucracy is not a good thing. It needs to be, we need to have an open voting process, and an open government, a transparent government, and therefore I would not support any further gerrymandering in the future.
Okay, this one, is for you, Mr. Landry.
Landry or Landry?
I'm sorry.
Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. Garrett. I'm so sorry. Mr. Garrett, did you or did you not get arrested for hurting a woman?
Well, you know, no one's ever asked me that in public. And if you read the police report, she wasn't hurt. And she had no injury. So the answer to your question is that was no. I didn't get arrested for hurting anyone. What I got arrested for was I was charged with aggravated battery. And that incident started when I pulled up my vehicle. And my thought to myself was, if I don't get out of my car, I should be pretty safe. But it didn't turn out that way, because what happens is when you have a child with a woman, it's the only way you get a child, really, and she decides that she wants to get custody from you, and you're not cooperating with her, it's easy. You just dial 911 and say, yeah, you're going down the drain, I promise you. So it took me 5 years to fix that problem, and it also took 5 years for me to get sole custody of my child, and it was one of the most humiliating and difficult experiences that I've had in my life, but I learned a lot from it. I learned about our criminal justice system. I know how to do things that are going to benefit everybody as a result of it, because when I went to go expunge my record, because I was qualified to have I'd never been arrested before or convicted of anything before, so when I went to expunge my record, I found out you can't expunge your arrest record. You can only expunge your convictions. And so when I'm going, we're going to fix that. You're going to be able to expunge your arrest record, because there's no reason for you to walk around having been arrested if you did your job and you fixed everything you were supposed to fix. So the answer to your question was, it was made up.
Well, that one was for Mr. Garrett specifically. Another one for you, Mr. Garrett specifically. Please explain your family discrimination for fighting for AA civil rights.
African American civil rights.
Okay, in New Orleans.
Well, you know, it's pretty interesting because I was 1964, 65. My Uncle Moon served in the state legislature with John McKiffin as governor, and they passed a lot of bills relative to race, and my Uncle Moon was the only legislator that voted against something they wanted to do. And he became well known as a result of his stance, because he said he had to do what was right, because that's the only way to operate in this world. You do the right thing no matter what the price is. You got to do what's right. And from there, my family started to suffer torment, pretty much the same kind of torment that y'all experience, but we experienced it from white people. And then we went through that phase where he served as a state legislator, then he became a city councilman, then he became mayor. He brought in Sidney Bartholomew as his first department head, the first black administrator in the city of New Orleans. And man, it was the end of the world for a lot of these people out here, and they took it out on us as children. So the other day, you might have heard I was reminiscing about my childhood and some of the things that created this person that you see here and the experiences that I had. And I was trying to share that with the public about how we experience racism and how racism has got a really ugly head out here. And I'm hearing it today, believe it or not. A lot of hate and racism on my Facebook page, and I can't figure it out. But then at the same time, the Black Panthers decided that the Emma Andrews, because Moon ran the police department, that they had to kill all of us. So we had guns in every window in the house when I was 12 years old. That was from the Black Panthers. So we were one way and the other way and one way. So we found out that the only person you could just really trust in this world was God. And also you had to trust to do the right thing no matter what. And so we learned about injustice, and I've been a person that will stand up against injustice anywhere I see it. So if that answers your question, I hope it did.
Mr. Deesa?
Education. Well, I basically said on the card, but I can expand a little bit. My priorities as a New Orleans resident and former high school social studies teacher is state section chartered schools and the lack of affordable housing, and what each of you plan to do about it. The Bessie Board, the state level. I assume you know the history of the, what's his name?
John White.
Yes! Oh God, help us.
to John McDonough, go back to the beginning when it all started. Because you want to get so I'm going to answer your question. I don't know, 1870, John McDonough, a very wealthy man, decided he was going to be the father of education in New Orleans. So he built 35 schools and gave them to the city of New Orleans. Fortunately and unfortunately, those schools lasted 100 years until Katrina hit. And they educated a lot of children, and there's a lot of other sideline history that goes with that in terms of segregation and whatever. We can come back to that. But what happened is Katrina came along, and my mother was the president of the school board when Katrina hit. And she signed an order to fire all 8,800 employees and to close the school system. And it was taken over by the state from that point forward. The good news was that Mary Landrieu, people say I don't want to be part of my family, but they did a lot of good. Mary went and negotiated with the Bush administration. Instead of trying to fix the 35 schools with $2.5 billion to fix 100-year-old schools, it's the first time they ever did it. They said, well, we're just going to write y'all a check for $2.4 billion, and y'all go ahead and build 45 brand new schools. That's what you see out here. So thank you, Mary Landrieu, for what she did. Now, the real challenge is we have the schools.
Mr. Landrieu, we got about a minute after you wrap that up, and I need to put in this one.
We have the schools. The question is, can we take the schools and educate the children now? Because we have the buildings, but do we have the staff? Do we have the money to run the schools? And do we have... That's correct. So, coming from where I come from, my mother has it ingrained in me. The most important thing I'm going to do as governor is bring education to Louisiana. Huey Long brought education to our state. He gave us all free textbooks.
I will continue to stress it. I am a biblically based person. My daily focus is on Scripture, on the perfect word of the Lord, that is the Lord reigning in this universe. So even public schools, and it's a good thing that the legislature just recently is now deciding to put in godly trust in the schools. We need to have godly focused, not this nonsense of the world going on in education. Kids need to be taught that there is a creator, and he would like a little respect and love on occasion, and he will love and respect us back.
Thank you very much. Candidates, if you would, take 2 minutes just to give us your closing remarks. Please, Mr. Landrieu.
Well, I want to tell all of y'all, thank you for your time and your attention and for coming here. And I'll tell you, I was very brokenhearted that I wasn't invited to go to the governor's debate in Lafayette for Logan, and I wasn't invited to the last one in Baton Rouge, and so far I'm not invited to the next two. And I don't understand why, but it broke my heart that I wasn't able to go there because it makes you look like you're not a viable candidate. And I've got to tell you, I don't think I'm going to be at 1%. I don't think that the people of Louisiana want what they're serving. I think the people of Louisiana want somebody who's just like themselves, who has the same aspiration and the same hopes and dreams that you have, and who wakes up every morning and wants to do the best thing for the people in our state, and is going to go up there and fight. I've been working since I'm 9 years old. Eddie Respondent said he started at 15. Well, let me tell you what, I was bagging groceries out there on Franklin Avenue at Jam Supermarket when I was 9 years old. I know about work. I'm willing to work, and I'm going to work hard for the people of our state, and I'm going to bring the industry in here that's going to bring us a lot of jobs, and we're going to end this problem of being poor. We're going to be poor no more.
Again, my name is Patrick Livewire, Landrieu, candidate for governor. One thing that I will most certainly do when I get into office is I'm going to look at REOs, real estate REOs, real estate owned by banks. If you investigate, as I just recently found out for myself, there are 116 banking institutions operating in Louisiana. These institutions, more often than not, when they foreclose on properties belonging to low and middle income individuals, they take these properties and then they want to resell them, and they want to resell them at an exorbitant rate well above the assessed value of that rate. Therefore, the banks are going to make so much more money on the property than if they were to try to work with people who get maybe a month or two behind on their mortgage. So we're going to look at the real estate system. It's good that we've got a lot of real estate issues going on right here in Orleans Parish. It needs to be taken statewide. The banks are making way too much money off of the poor people and basically messing the poor people over. So REOs will be something I address. Also, again, the state has already accepted medicinal marijuana. Look at the state of Colorado. They're making multiple millions of dollars by selling it. I'm not necessarily endorsing it that everyone should be smoking it or inhaling it or whatever, but I am endorsing the fact that we need to have it a growing cash crop for Louisiana, a new industry that would benefit us financially, and therefore those monies could then be spread to Bessie and to Medicaid, or have a go. Certainly Medicaid is a federal program, but obviously we need to have subsidies, and also subsidies for elderly, food assistance and travel assistance for elderly. We can have supplemental pay come out of the state once we have a much growing federal, to mitigate the federal monies that already go to the assistance for elderly. I thank you for having us here today, having me here today, and I would certainly suggest to you that you pray before you actually go vote, and maybe the Lord will direct you my way. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Yeah, do me a favor and all right, candidates, please introduce yourself. You just sit right there. Oh. Okay. Please introduce yourself. Starting with Mr. Bourne, thank you.
My name is Alan Bourne. I'm running for State Senate, District 5, which includes Uptown New Orleans, Hollywood, Mid-City, Irish Channel, Garden District, Central City. It's a big district. Goes all the way into the CBD, the warehouse district. I'm a lifelong Democrat, born and raised here in New Orleans. I've raised my family here. I'm a proud father of 4 children, 2 sons and 2 daughters. Regarding those daughters, I speak with them daily, and I'm a big advocate of equal pay, equal work, the Equal Rights Amendment. But that's more about talking to maybe a little bit more about that. I went to De La Salle High School, then I attended college at Southern Missionary College in Tennessee, and came home and did law school at Tulane, received my law degree in 1984. Since then, I've opened Bourne Law Firm, and for the past 34 years, I have been advocating for the rights of my clients.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bourne.
Thank you so much for having me tonight. My name is Marguerite Green. I'm a candidate for Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry for the state. Being here with you tonight is incredibly important to me. I do want to apologize if I ever see Nancy. I am running for a state office, so I have to be in 10 places at once. But I'm so happy to be here in New Orleans, which is my home. I'm a farmer, and I've been a farmer for 12 years. I'm also a farmer organizer, so I help farmers build the resources amongst themselves to be able to make farming a viable career here in the state of Louisiana. I advocate for federal funds. I've gone and lobbied to our senators to give better support to our food programs here in the state and to our food-producing farmers. I am running on a platform that I call Food, Farms, Climate, and Cannabis. And what that is about is that I am running to increase the food-producing programs that we have for the state, our farmers market nutrition programs, our senior vouchers, our WIC vouchers that go to our farmers markets, because I believe that everyone deserves equal access to local, healthy, fresh food. In order to do that, I believe that we need to better support our food-producing farmers for the state, and we need to make sure that we're giving programs to minority and women-owned farms. And I am also running as the #1 candidate talking about climate change on a state level. We do not have people at the top addressing climate change, and it is going to be the existential crisis of my generation. We absolutely have to be addressing it on a quick timeline. We need to be addressing it aggressively. And right now, I'm just not seeing enough action from the top, and that is why I am running. And I'm also running on the full legalization of cannabis. I believe that that is important because I believe that we need the money for the state from a cannabis program in order to pay for big programs that we have to do, but also only when we have full legalization of cannabis will we be able to expunge people's records from prior non-violent drug-related offenses that we know do not hurt our communities. What hurts our communities is over-policing of black and brown communities, not a little bit of cannabis. So if that is something that we can use to boost our state, thank you.
Lastly, please, sir.
Tommy Robinson, and I'm running for the president for the NAACP chapter here in New Orleans. And I believe that it's time for change, that we can come together and work with legislature and the city, police department, and bring forth some economic development back to our communities. And it's time for change. It's time not to talk about it, but it's time to make a difference. And come together with everyone, to make a difference in our communities and our neighborhoods. The judicial system, we need to go to the courts and to monitor even the courts and get rid of the kangaroo system. Monitor the prison system, monitor all these private prisons. We just got so much to do, so much work that I see that needs to be done here in New Orleans that is not being done. So I want you to vote for me. Amen. Tommy Robinson. Go register. Register yourself. Amen. Go to the NAACP. Amen. Website. Amen.
Mr. Tommy, thank you. Thank you. And two, I've just been informed, I listen to folks and I have to, that we really just invited, really, two candidates here. So we will have you back some other time, possibly, Mr. Tommy, and I'm glad you got a chance to take the stage and introduce yourself, but I have to stick with these candidates here, so please forgive me. He can ask that question offline. Oh, you got a question from Mr. Tommy? Ask it offline. Here. Thank you. All right, let's begin. Please start with Ms. Green. Would you please tell us more about your top priority once you get into office?
Absolutely, thank you for that question. My top priority would be fighting climate change using agriculture and forestry. Agriculture and forestry at their best are one of the greatest mitigators of climate change. They can be used sustainably and regeneratively to bring more wealth to the people, and not industry. But at their worst, they exacerbate climate change. We need support on a statewide level in order to help farmers transition to more sustainable farming to capture carbon from the air back into our soil where it belongs. That would be my number one priority. I believe that in order to pay for that, we do need to legalize cannabis, so I would have to begin working on that. What I am passionate about in Cannabis Platform is criminal justice reform, and so that would be incredibly important to me as well. So my top priority is the environment.
Mr. Bourne, and also too, before you answer that question, Mr. Bourne, I would like, if any of you in the audience have questions, please write them down with the index cards, drop them in one of the buckets to the left or right of the stage, or hand them here to the moderator's table. Thank you. Mr. Bourne, what's your top priority?
My top priorities are three. One is the infrastructure in New Orleans. In District 5, which is the uptown area and the CBD, the last two times we've had hard rains, we've had flooding. Flooding in areas that never flooded before. So, as a state senator, I would do oversight to the Inspector General. The Surgeon Water Board is a quasi-state agency who would do oversight and work with local officials to get to the bottom of the drainage problems. We all know there's maintenance problems. It's a 100-year-old system. It needs to be fixed, needs to be paid for, and it needs to be done efficiently. And the people who are there on the ground need to be always looking how to improve the system. I also think that regarding the drainage system, we need input from engineers and a lot of the students that are here in this area, engineering students. I think it should be a community. We should all be working together to fix this problem. Then there's the crumbling roads. The streets here in New Orleans, all over the place. I'm driving here in the middle of South Claiborne, a state highway. There's two huge holes that I saw, fortunately, that filled with water. At night, I would have busted a tire. And we can't afford to have our cars torn up by these roads. And they also cause auto accidents. People trying to avoid these hazards. Education. That's another one of my strong issues that I want to address. Starting with early childhood education to lay the foundation for future success in school. I also believe that the alternative curriculum to meet all the needs of the students. Some of the students do very well in our educational system, but a lot of them struggle. We need alternative curriculum, including vocational tech. Because everyone's not going to college. And if you're only prepared to go to college and you're not going to college, that's wasteful. We need tradespeople who can be our future carpenters, plumbers, electricians, and keep the city up and running. And lastly, there's economic opportunity. I want our people to be at home. I don't want our sons and daughters to have to leave the area to find economic opportunities. We should have strong industry and strong business right here so that our citizens can at least earn a living wage. I have any other issues, but those are my 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Appreciate it. All right, next question.
Ms. Deidre Lewis.
Please come up, take the mic so that we can hear you, so that everybody present can hear you. Are you able to?
My question is for Mr. Bourne. I'd like to know why you want to be the Senate for District 5. What is your motivation? What is your fire today?
I've been practicing law for 34 years, successful. I have a successful law practice. When you have your own law practice, you're also a businessman. So you know how to run a business efficiently, keep costs down, and hopefully profits high. I'm 60 years old now, and I have children that live in this community, and I've sat by for years watching as things have just gone down. Streets are getting worse, the drainage is getting worse, the schools are the never-ending cycle of 40, 50% of them are failing, our children aren't getting educated, and the cycle continues. And many in our city, unfortunately, get complacent and say, oh, that's New Orleans. Well, I would like to make a difference. I decided to run, and right when I decided to run and qualify, my opponent tried to disqualify me in a form of voter suppression. There was some shenanigans in the clerk's office with my application form, and I had to fight all the way to the Supreme Court. We had a trial and a loss at the trial level of New Orleans. And then we went to the Court of Appeal, and it was a 4-5 decision, 5-4 decision against me. When the Supreme Court of Louisiana received this case, they unanimously said that I'm a qualified candidate. And here I am today to do it. So I want to do the hard work that it takes. My opponent is oftentimes an absentee. She has her mind on national politics. I want to be there. I want to be in front of these issues on the ground. I admire Mayor Cantrell because, when I've noticed when there's some type of crime, shooting, murder, she's there at the scene. She's always there at the scene. That's the kind of senator I want. There at the scene, engaged with the people, open ears, and advocating to meet the challenges of the district.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Ms. Gray, as far as your department is concerned, what you do when you get in office, would you advise the governor to stop the tax exemption for petrochemical industries and reclaim the land that has been taken up by these industries and really inundated the river parishes with these industries so that they can be put to other uses?
Absolutely, unapologetically, and immediately. I would ask for the governor to immediately repeal I-10 tax exemptions as they stand for petrochemical industries, and also ask to reclaim the land that the river parishes have sacrificed to polluting and poisoning gas and oil industries.
My question is, what would you do about getting with the energy companies about fixing the frequency problem when it comes to solar power? A lot of us who have solar power on our houses, 80% of that energy is not actually going into the system because it's a frequency problem, so it's not matching and it's not adapting. So that's why a lot of people bills are still high even when they have solar power.
Thank you, yeah. So unfortunately, that isn't something that would be in the purview of my department, and I like to be honest about that because I don't want to set a precedent that I'll be able to do something I'm not. But as the candidate who is running on sustainable energy development through agriculture and forestry, I believe that we can make a compelling argument that farms that are able to have solar panels installed on them for the greater good of our energy system here in the state would be falling under that same problem, and that is a way that we could advocate to change that. I would like to see our energy become a cooperative. I would like to see the people own the grid, because I believe that that's one of the best ways that we can hold that system accountable. And I believe that if the people own their energy cooperative, like they do in many places in this country, that we will then be able to see our will as citizens be enacted when it's not, because right now we see energy companies that don't have any incentive to help us with that because it doesn't help their bottom line. And so if people can cooperatize and own the grid, then we will have things that are beneficial to us because they will be in the commons.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Well, as a senator, I would support, I do support solar power and alternative energies because I think it's the way of the future. Speak up, please. I'm sorry. Just put it close to the mic. Okay. I said I would support solar energy. The frequency problem, I don't know much about that. So I know that a lot of my neighbors have the solar energy, and I never really heard them talk about the frequency problem. But in this day and age, with global warming and all of the issues we're having, we need to encourage these alternative forms of energy, these renewable energies like solar, and do what we can with the frequency problem to make a converter or some kind of technology that would make that work.
Let me clarify. Energy, what they did was when everybody got that tax incentive to the state, they made sure their system was not adaptable to it. So when they did that, we're actually blocking the solar power they're blocking it on their end, not from the home. So that's where the frequency power is coming in, because they were supposed to upgrade their system with all the money that they gotten and the tax incentive, which they did not do.
So therefore, you get energy, but you can't sell it back to them. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Your clarity on that, Mr. Gordon?
Yes, I do. Okay. And if energy committed to buy this power, I think we need to hold them to their commitment. And I believe in a lot of cases in this state, we have to hold people to their commitments. I'm for oversight, accountability, and transparency, not only with this issue, which is a glaring. I mean, if they said they would do it and they don't do it, somebody should be making noise about it. And yes, I would try to make that happen.
Thank you, sir. That's good. You mentioned sewage and water board moments ago. Another thing that Justice Indiana advocates for is the removal of all lead lines within the city of New Orleans. I think we said by the year 2021, maybe.
Yes.
Would you stand with us in advocating for that as well, too, if you are elected to office, the removal of all lead lines going into houses?
Who's that question for?
I'm asking you, Mr. Warren. Also, you disagree as well, too.
Okay. Well, I'm a history buff, and they say one of the declines of the Roman Empire, they were using so much lead, the lead pipes, there was prevalent lead poisoning, and that led to mental deficiencies and all kinds of things, diseases, blood diseases and things that lead leads to. So yes, definitely, even in my own house, there's old pipes that need to be replaced, and they need to be replaced with technology so that in 100 years when it needs to be replaced again, it's much easier. It should be built to be replaced. So the answer is yes, I would replace lead. In Flint, Michigan is an example of what can happen with lead. We don't want any of us drinking lead, especially children who it really affects. I had a lead case a while back, and it's something that you never really, as a child, you never really get outgrow it, because it does damage. It's permanent.
So just to clarify, you know, the Sewage and Water Board continually tells us as Justice and Beyond that there is no problem with lead in the water in New Orleans. What do you believe about that?
I have not seen, myself, I have not seen any tests or reports that say there's high lead in New Orleans. Now, if there is, and we're not being told about it, I'll get to the bottom of that for sure. But we shouldn't have lead pipes at all, because there's new technologies, there's plastics, there's all kinds of other things that we can make pipes out of that last just as long as lead. Lead's something that lasts a long time. That's probably why they use it. But we need to replace it because it's toxic.
All right. Ms. Green.
I would absolutely support Justice and Beyond's work in removing lead from our drinking water. It's something that affects children and the elderly inordinately to a degree that is just so much worse and compounds and children. Obviously, we need children in our future. They are the future of this city, and the fact that there are lead drinking water lines in this city is atrocious and absolutely should be overhauled.
Thank you very much.
I'll make it quick. In response to the lead, the lead in the water, you don't have to look at the statistics. Look at the street. There's obviously lead in the water, lead in the buildings, and it is definitely attached to mental health issues. So we're dealing with not only the water, but the mental health issue, and we're not making the connection. So you already answered this question because you're not familiar with it. What I'm suggesting is to know the ball, start looking at this stuff, because it's in the street.
I know A Community Voice has done significant research, and we have done several forums on lead in the water and had many experts come that have attested to the fact that there is indeed a significant amount of lead in the water, because any amount of lead in the water is significant. And so we want to get down to zero amount of lead in the water, which you did describe, Mr. Bourne, how that can be so. Thank you for the answer to that. Do we have any more questions? All right, we're gonna here. This is the time. Well, before that, we're gonna move in a minute to what actions we want to take as this organization. But would y'all will take about 2 minutes to sum up what you want to say to those in attendance tonight?
Yeah, thank you. In closing, like I said, I'm running number 22 on the ballot. I believe very deeply that we have to have people at the top in leadership in this state that don't prioritize industry, they prioritize people. I am running for this position, not because I want a fancy desk, not because I want a fancy job. If I'm being quite frank, in this room, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I'm running for this position because I believe that we are in a crucial time right now where we need to make sure that our interests are being represented in this state. I think we have 12 years left. Honestly, if you consider elections, we have 11 years left to just change the entire course of this ship and make sure that we're protecting people. There are people who are running in this race, not in my race, but in this October election, who are speaking about climate change, but they're also speaking about closing our borders. They're also speaking about separating people. So all environmental messages are not the same. And we need to be protecting the most vulnerable among us when we are protecting our environment. And I would compel you to make sure that you interrogate the policies of the people that you vote for, and you make sure that you are following down to the dime who they benefit. And if it is not the people, then that is not your candidate. Thank you.
Mr. Bourne.
Yes, my name again is Alan Bourne. I'm number 58 on the ballot. Early voting starts September 28th. October 12th is the election. I would ask for your support because you all need a senator that's going to do the hard work. Not a senator. My opponent's been in the legislature for 20 years. That's a whole generation. And yet, we still have the crumbling streets. We still have the drainage problems where we're flooding out every time it rains. We have the school problems, failing schools. We need to support our teachers and our students to improve the education. As far as economic opportunity, we need to do what it takes. That includes something about affordable housing. Yeah, in one way, the real estate market's up and everyone who owns houses are pleased with that. But it's also a burden because the tax rates go up with that, and we may need to raise the homestead exemption. We may need to limit how much your assessment can rise in 1 year, maybe say 5 or 10%, so you just don't get this sticker shock of it doubling. In regard to reproductive rights, I believe in a woman's choice to choose for herself. I also believe in equal pay for equal work for women. I have 2 daughters, and all my life I never understood that. And what I don't understand too is why women aren't more appalled by it. I know a lot of them are, but a lot of them are just they just accept it, and it's not right, and it should be that equal pay for equal work. And then the equal rights amendment. We're one state away, and I'm a strong supporter of trying to get the constitutional amendment for equal rights. There's the gun issues. I'm a gun owner, but I believe in reasonable gun control, like universal background checks. What's so difficult about that? There's a mental health issue, which is tied to the gun issue in Louisiana. We have a shortage of mental health professionals, and we need to really work on improving that situation in the schools. They say 40 to 50% of the people in jail are there because of mental health issues, and there should be alternatives for that, and therapies and medications.
Thank you, sir. Thank you both for taking your time to come here tonight. We really appreciate it. Again, all candidates were invited to be here at that ball.